Is this thing working? This thing's working. What's going on, everybody? Um, Sorry, let me make Discord shut up real quick. Discord, do not disturb. Go away. Leave me in peace. There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to yet another week of the Scratch League recap show with Luke and myself. Obviously, my ginger, spiky haired co host is not with us at the moment. Unfortunately, work has taken him away for just a second. So I am here kind of blathering on and filling time as per usual until we get back to our normal dual host setup. Um, Last week kind of sucked. I'm just gonna be honest. Like we didn't bowl that badly. Actually threw it pretty well, and we were on lanes 3 and 4. Or no, we were on 1 and 2 last week, and 1 and 2 just flat out 1 and 2'd me. I bowled two pretty good games and turned like what 480, 490 somewhere in there, 480, 481, and was battling back, and then just had a couple of really unfortunate shots that I knew I was kind of on borrowed time game 3, but came on they just kind of a 2-8-10 and a Greek church on back-to-back shots, neither of which were all that awful on lane 1, and that just kind of that derailed it for me personally. I needed 224 to win game 3 in series for my head-to-head, and obviously I did not get that. I shot 188. I think I went spare strike in the 10th too, so it was kind of a rough ending. um Luke bowled a little bit of a slow start for Luke as well. I felt like he bowled pretty well though, all things considered, and it was just 1 and 2 is one of those pairs where it can be a coin flip. Either you have a good lick and you actually score well, or it's just a complete grind all night. And especially for Luke and myself, and really, I mean the Ethan, Alex, and Johnny on the other team all bowled well. Um, it was just kind of a situation of, I mean, we lost total by 3 pins, and that really sucked. But I mean, even if we do get total, we still get total and lose the match 17-15, I believe was how that math worked out. So it was kind of a, oops, that's the wrong button. My phone's going off. There we go. Do not disturb. I got to mute all the electronics. Sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, Noah bowled really well. Jaden bowled very well and just got unlucky with her matchup with Alex. Um, Luke, obviously, Ethan took care of business with him, and then Johnny and I were kind of back and forth, and he just managed to stay out of trouble better than I did game 3. Um, yeah, that was roller coaster night for us, I guess. I think, let's see, what equipment did I use? I think I threw my NV Tour most of the night. And if I remember right, I think I might have actually thrown my silver ball on the fresh and then realized I was just kind of a little too quick and ended up getting out of that and into my NV Tour. I'm just kind of trying to control the pocket, and then just kept chasing that. And realistically, the NV2, I knew I was on borrowed time with the black ball in game 3, but figured I could grind it out and I'd execute marginal ball reaction. And it turns out that I was throwing it good, but I wasn't throwing it good enough to do that, essentially. And I just had a couple of marginal shots go the wrong way. I was also, I think I touched on this last week in the recap show, but after my thumb got dinged up in Springfield, I had been trying cloth tape on the back of my thumb. And I think that didn't help. Like, I was making the best shots I could, but I don't think that exactly helped matters. Realistically, it was kind of I would get to, like, it would be overall a good shot until I got to the release point, and then my thumb would fly out of it, and I'd either just lose it off my hand or grab the snot out of it or thumb down it or whatever, just kind of trying to save it because it didn't feel right. So I have decided that the tape on the back of the thumb is kind of a helpful tool to have in the bag if something like Springfield does happen again, where my thumb keeps sweating a lot. But otherwise, I'm back to no tape on the thumb. This is also, I think you'll be able to see it okay, maybe ish, right there. There we go. Yeah. Humpty Dumpty fell off a bike on Sunday. I took a little bit of a spill while I was out riding on a greenway near my apartment. And actually, Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, I was thinking there was a legit chance I'd have to miss multiple weeks into a month plus because couldn't even like I couldn't pick up a water bottle without my hand hurting, and like I kind of fell on both wrists, falling off my bike. So thankfully, I've gotten a lot better very quickly. What's up, Luke? Um, Gotten a lot better very quickly. Actually, practiced a little bit and bowled league on Tuesday. So complete roller coaster from Sunday evening. I texted my team and I was like, "Hey, I'm probably not going to be there on Thursday." To all systems go, let's get this win. So excited to be back. Yeah, Luke, I think Angel might need to give me some tumbling lessons before I go on my bike again.
We need to get you a Peloton or something.
Something like that. Yeah. So yeah, I guess I feel like I covered most of it all right for Thursday. Felt like you threw it pretty well and just got constantly catfished because we were on 1-2. And then I really didn't feel like I threw it that badly either. And I just got 1-2 game 3 with the 2-8-10 Greek Church back to back. So
yeah, I think my problem was that I tried something that I got what I expected. It just didn't work out like I expected.
Basically. Oh, that's right, because you had the OG phase with you. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I pulled my phase out because I've been trying to go back through some old stuff that just kind of lays around, and it's to the point again where it's like, okay, well, this either needs to have a point, or it's gonna get retired, or I'm gonna get rid of it. And the duo was one that I tried out a couple weeks ago on Friday night, and it's like, yeah, I need to let that one go because it just doesn't fit. But there's sometimes when I throw my summit when it's just a little too slow. And I thought, well, if I can get a summit type look that's just a little faster, then I have kind of a 1-2 thing to work off of. And the phase is directly between the duo and the summit. It's not as long and flippy as the duo. It's not as early and slow as the summit. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll have something here. And it looked decent-ish in practice. And so I went ahead and started with it. And then I wasn't comfortable because again, it was more duo side than summit side. It was still just a little over under. And then on my side, I had a guy throwing plastic the entire night, and that caught up to me in the third game.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, so that's one thing I didn't mention is Jim Anderson, their 2-hole on Johnny's team, is an incredibly rev dominant lefty who let's see, his arsenal, if I remember correctly, was a hammer axe spare ball at 2000, which is super weak reactive resin that doesn't flare. The old clear Dragon Optics plastic ball from like 20 years ago, and a Radical Spy. And I'm pretty sure that's all he threw the entire night. And that's pretty much his bag. So he does okay with it most of the time. But I mean, obviously he didn't have a great game 3. And that might have been the best 195 I've ever seen you bowl, Luke, in your game 3 on Thursday.
Yeah, because I mean, I left 5 7-pins. And this is the thing, coming off a 230 game. And the lanes did somehow dry up. And so I had to move in to get the ball down the lane. And then the back ends washed out about the third or fourth frame of the last game. And at that point, it's like, well, we were close enough that I'm not going to,
you're not going to swing for the fences.
Well, that's the thing is up to that point, I'd already tried every ball that I brought because the first game, the phase wasn't quite it. And so I went into my phase G. That wasn't quite it. At the end of the game, I went into the gold label. That wasn't quite it. So I went back into the phase.
No, you were throwing the summit, weren't you?
Well, the summit didn't come out until kind of the middle to the end of game 2.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because
the summit was close on traction. It just, as soon as it saw that extra wiggle that it cropped, like I think if you had started with the summit, you probably would have been fine.
You will,
for the first 2 games, but
that's what I was kind of working into.
Yeah, but at the same time, it just kind of caught up. The sum of everything kind of caught up to you game 3, and that. I mean, you threw a couple of really good shots. That was like everybody was calling it as aced off your hand, and it 3-pinned out of freaking nowhere. So that was kind of fun to deal with.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is that I think I went strike open or something in the second game. I'm like, okay, screw this. Then I went four bagger spare sheet or something like that.
Yeah.
Or
Pretty
actually,
much.
no, I had a yeah, I struck the first ball in the 10th to wrap my point up, and then I had a and then the ball just randomly went high on me for no reason
Yeah.
after
Well,
waiting five
it's
or six
because you're
seconds
it's because
to
you're
look
a
for it.
lefty and you're on 1 and 2, so that's why that happened.
Yeah, well, and it took it was probably a 10-minute delay for them to find your thumb slug.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that
So
too.
that happened in the ninth frame.
Yeah, that was that's the goodness. Last week was a super adventure. So my what was it, ninth frame of game 2, I 10 pinned, and I mentioned already that I've been trying to tape on the back of my thumb, and I guess I just kind of squeezed it a little bit or something because my thumb kind of locked up in the ball, and my Joe Post slug and the sleeve came flying out of the ball, and all three ended up in the pit. Slug still in the sleeve, but neither of those in the ball, and everything just went sliding down the gutter the last 30 feet. So missed
Yeah.
that by a lot. Um,
And this was after both you and Jaden had the front eight, or at least she
yeah,
had
I
the
had
front
like
seven, you had the front eight, or you had the front
no,
seven.
I
You
had
both
I
had
had
the
front
front
seven.
seven.
As I went front seven, 7 pin spare, 10 pin miss, and then like
Mm-hmm.
strike eight in the 10th or something like that. So it was and it I don't think I was in the best state mentally because normally something like that would just be kind of a okay, it is what it is. Let's figure out how to get through this for the next 11 frames and we'll solve it for next week. But as soon as that happened for me, I went from 0 to just straight to the moon. I was just completely like tilted out of my mind, just in like black cloud mode. I don't know, still don't know exactly why I did that. Like it was just a reaction I had. So I kind of taken that to mean that it wasn't the best night mentally for me. Um, but I mean, at the same time, we were bowling a good group of guys, so ultimately it was a fun battle with them. Another very close match. We bowled pretty well. They bowled pretty well, and I know it was 21-11. It could have gone the other way pretty easy. So
Yeah,
is what it
and
is.
that's the thing is just looking at we lost total by 3, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
places both in our control and out of our control where we could have found those 3 pins. Of course, you could
Yep.
have said the same thing for them too. I'm not sure that Jim Anderson bowled a 150 the last game.
Yeah.
He didn't throw a 150 the last game necessarily.
And if you give me that Greek church back, that gets me my third game, my set, and team set. So that's 6-7 points right there. So I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways it could have gone a lot different very easily.
Yeah. I missed a 7 pin the last game. Jaden missed a 2-8.
Yeah. A 2-8 where it
I
overhooked because that
yeah.
makes complete sense.
And I also had
Oh, the best username on YouTube has joined the stream, Gorilla Glue Enthusiast. I dig it. Sorry, I didn't
yeah,
know I was
there's
pointing
a
that
lot
out.
of places we could have picked stuff up.
Oh yeah, I mean we only lost game 3 by what is that,
Yeah,
34?
30.
So I mean that's
Yeah.
pretty easy to even find that. Like your
Yeah.
7 pin, my Greek church, and that's game 3, and that's my game 3, team game 3, my set and team set.
Yeah.
That's like 9 points.
So yeah, I mean that's
the margin was very close, and there's going to be a lot of matches like this, and that's one thing that makes this league a lot of fun is the competitive parity ends up being really, really solid, I think, even though there are, there's probably a 25, 30 point range of incoming averages across the league. But even with all of that, it still ends up being very competitive week in and week out most of the time.
Yeah. So and that's one of the ones that it goes the way it goes, and I'm pretty sure that we're still in second. Yeah.
We are. So this is standings after week 6. We were on 126, and first place was Jerry's team at 131. Jerry's team had an okay night. They took 20. We obviously took 11. So we are still in second. Barely. We are 2.5 ahead of 5th and 15 off of the lead. So it's just kind of week by week, still kind of same overall deal. Get as many points as we can wherever we can and kind of hold on for the second half and hope it ends up well. So Still leading the league in total pinfall, it looks like. Trevor's team is right behind us. They've almost caught us, actually.
Yeah,
They're
that's 170.
Yeah, 170 pins. I'll probably catch that pretty quick. I would imagine they've been bowling really, really well. But yeah, so I guess kind of moving on to look at this week. We are bowling Stephen Keeler's team, which I actually six-man for his Tuesday night team at Olathe Lanes East. So get to talk shit to him twice a week most weeks, which is kind of fun. And that means I'll get to run shots out in front of him now, which is going to be even more fun. Steve, I'm actually a little worried about. I think so. Looking at averages, I think Steve's going to be in the four-hole again. I think it's going to be Jeff, Justin, DJ, Steve. I think is going to be their lineup order. I know if Steve's in the 3-4 range, then he's always going to be bowling anchor. And he's barely clear of that. He's obviously had a very rough start to the season. With that said, he's also started to really figure out some stuff with like swing timing and actually having a relaxed downswing that's letting him catch it more. So I am slightly worried that he might actually bowl really well this week. And then obviously myself still recovering and not completely at 100% physically from doing my best Humpty Dumpty impersonation. I'm not at 100%. So if I can get to 720, I'll be really, really happy with that. So it's just going to be a little more of kind of coming in with a survival mentality for me. As you can see down here at the bottom, we are on 15 and 16 tonight, which is actually the second lowest scoring pair in the league. League average is right at 215 across the building, and the average on 15 and 16 is 212. So down a couple pins, but I mean that's not a huge margin. But when you consider we're 7 weeks in and it's that far off, that's going to be a pretty substantial like felt difference over even the 215 average on 1 and 2. So I think they are probably going to be a little bit trickier, but at the same time, a couple of times when we caught this pair last year, it actually ended up being a pretty good night score wise. So it's just kind of see how the cookie crumbles. So yeah, just gonna kind of take it as it comes more than anything else. As far as equipment, Luke, are you gonna actually commit to just throw the Summit until it absolutely does not work this week and not do any silly stuff? Or what's your plan? Because you're alone on the left side this week, so it'll be a nice change from Game 3 last week for you.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to look at it more serious because I think most of my practice was throwing the phase and get down, dingo. I think that most of my practice was, getting a look at the phase.
Yeah.
So, I know, dingo. So, I took the Ruby and the Tour Dynamics on Friday to League, and those both look solid. But again, I'm still trying to figure out if those are catfish looks or whatever because I couldn't miss the pocket. I just didn't necessarily. I mean, I shot 670, so it's not like it was a bad week by any means. But I threw really well, and I didn't miss the pocket but 1 or 2 times. And I think I can't remember if I was clean. I had a couple opens.
You opened once or twice, but it was a solid set. I remember that much. But so at the same time, my gut says I think the TDX is going to be more of a catfish ball for you than the Ruby on the left side. I think if you end up in a situation where you really want to close down your angles more than you can with like your Summit or your Phase G, I think that's where the Ruby's going to come into play for you.
Yeah, and I think that the difference there is that the Ruby, that miss is going to be consistently too late or a little flat.
Yes.
The TDX goes back and forth between wrap 7, 6, 8.
Yeah, there were too many shots where you threw a good 6-pin for no reason on Friday, and that concerns me a little bit.
I might just need to settle down that cover a little bit more too. That's not something that I want to do in the scratch league. And so one of my other points was going to be if I'm not confident in it and I don't know exactly what I'm getting myself into, that's not the night to try things or mess around with things. I jumped down with the phase, and if I'd have just thrown the Summit that first game, I'm not shooting 180.
Yeah.
So that was That was lesson. I think I will keep it in there, but I think that the Ruby's been consistently good enough to give it a look. It's not going to be the right ball every time, but I think
Yeah.
it's like the Summit in that it's just early and rolly, and it's going to be flat seven sometimes. But I mean, so is the Summit. It just I think that is actually kind of what I'm looking at as my step down from the Summit because it acts more like
Yeah.
the Summit, just less. Now I got to find out something that's a little bit faster than that. That I think is going to be the trick when because I can't have slow on top of slow on top of slow.
Wouldn't that be the gold label though, or is that
You
just too
would
weak for
think,
what you're
but
thinking?
I think it's gotten a little long-ish.
Okay.
Um, and I
Shined
think
up,
I need
shined
to.
up DNA.
I think I need. Yeah, the DNA is pretty close, and so I think that's going to be my lineup tonight. I am still going to bring the TDX, but it's going to be. I think instead of the phase, that my fifth ball is going to go back to the DNA. Because it
Okay.
is as strong as the Summit. It does have that same heavy roll, but it's quicker.
It's
So
just a little more firm and decisive in the mid lane.
I think if I'd have had that in the last game on
Yeah.
Thursday, I probably would
Yeah.
have. But again, it's one of those things. It's like when I'm hitting the pocket, it's just so close that
Hmm.
I'm not going to make a ball change in the seventh frame of the last game. When I'm close, we're close, everything else. So that the
Yeah.
ball change probably was not going to happen.
Yep. So bag for tonight, because I totally lost track of it in that conversation. For you is going to be Summit, Phase G, Ruby, DNA, Plastic.
Um, Probably I need the gold label needs to be in there, and so it might be one of those
Oh
things.
yeah,
I don't.
might bring 6 tonight instead of 5.
Yeah, I don't know. I might.
I feel like the Phase G has to go though, because that's just kind of a really nice offset look.
Yeah, and that has actually overlapped my. It kind of overlaps my gold label now,
Yeah, I can see that.
and I like the Phase G a little bit better. So I might actually leave the gold label at home. I haven't thrown it a whole lot
Yeah.
recently either, and so that's one of those things where I think I probably need to take it on Friday, and
Yeah, that
and
makes sense.
I might just use Friday as we'll throw one, unless I just am shooting something too big to do it with. But I might bowl one game with one ball, the next with another ball, just to keep stuff in the rotation.
Yeah, just to keep
Keep
getting
it,
games on stuff. Yeah, no, that
yeah,
makes sense.
just keep it in use, and that way, instead of using one ball on Thursday and one ball on Friday, then it helps me kind of keep fresh on what everything's doing, how everything's acting. And again, if you let
Yep.
something sit for a month or two and you don't really use it, most of the time it gets a little bit of it firms up a little bit on the, it gets kind of like a
Yeah.
hard shell on it. And so once you get some use on it, it warms it back up, so to speak. And so I think I hadn't used the gold label for a while. I brought it out on last Thursday, and it just was too weakish.
It
And
just never saw it. Yeah, it was just
yeah,
like missed half a panel long and then decided to do something. And
so
that's
yeah,
with you being kind of on top of it. So
so
yeah. For myself, obviously the black ball is in. Plastic ball is in. Thankfully, I have another plastic ball with a Joe Post sleeve in it.
yeah.
So my T zone is on your workbench to be plugged right now, so we can get that thumb hole fixed up. Essentially, I think the diagnosis was the bit had kind of chattered a little bit while I was drilling it, and so that made the hole just ever so slightly too large, and that's why the glue wasn't able to fully adhere and keep it in there snugly. So
Yeah.
that was unfortunate, but I do still have a plastic ball that works.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So black ball, plastic ball. I think my top speed is in. That's actually my best set of the year last season was hooking a top speed against Keeler's team. So might have to break that out again just for the memes.
Yeah.
The other two, I'm actually not 100% sure what I'm going to do.
Silver
Normally,
ball.
what I've been maybe I'm thinking about it. I drilled a fireball last week, and I haven't thrown it a ton, but I really, really, really like it. I see it in the same general shape class as the silver ball and the ocean vibe. It's just kind of between the two in terms of total traction.
Yeah. It's
So
not
I
as
would
nutso as the silver ball, but it's not quite as weak as the vibe.
correct. Yeah. So where I've when I've been throwing my ocean vibe later in sets in Medlin has just kind of been okay, this is close, but it's not seeing the oil enough, so let's just make sure I punch myself in the forehead to make it hook.
Mm-hmm.
Versus the fireball is going to give me that same type of shape idea and ability to chase it left without wrap tenning too much, without having to just totally yam on it to make it get there. So I think the fireball goes, and then so I've got top speed, black ball, the NV Tour, the black ball, my fireball, plastic, and then the fifth, kind of waffling a little bit. There's a lot of rev rate on the other team, so I think they are going to hook a little more later in the night. Oh yeah, top speed's gone, Malcolm. Don't worry. I'm torn a little bit. Like the thought crossed my mind of doing something crazy. I'm looking at some of my gear over sitting here on the floor beside me. Widow hybrid and put some surface on it came across my mind. Taking the remix crossed my mind. My stealth solid has lane shine on it. That crossed my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a few ideas that I'm still pickling around. I don't know. Do you have any particular input in that direction for what might make sense for tonight?
This just might be more my bias, but Kinetic Cobalt looks just awful good.
Fair.
And I'm biased because it acts exactly like a Prodigy from way back then. And
it's worth a shot, and I haven't actually taken it to Medlin this year. So
okay,
sense. And it's kind of I think the Cobalt and the Fireball are actually fairly close in terms of like traction and total hook. They just get there in different ways. The Fireball kind of pivot tumbles a little more. It's kind of in the same shape class as an MV2 or Pearl, Ocean Vibes, Sensor, Super Baby, Top Speed, that type of deal. Versus the Cobalt is more of a round continuous arc. So that would kind of give me two balls that kind of stand up and tumble a little quicker, and two balls that really arc and blend off the spot with the NV2 and the Cobalt. So I think that might actually be a really good idea.
Yeah.
Cobalt it is.
Yeah, sweet. And you can, I'll definitely accept the blame if you try it, it doesn't work.
So. Nah, I need to pop some fresh grips in it before tonight anyways, so that works out.
All right, so as far as the team-to-team matchup, we are kind of obliterating them on paper, but they're all down. Keeler, again, Keeler averaged 220 something last year, 227, 8-ish last year.
Yeah, he's better than that, I think.
And he's had 800 shot at him 3 times this year already.
Yeah.
So there's that. And you can see up there that Vaughn versus Keeler, he did have his third 800 of the year in 8 weeks.
Was that 3?
Or
I thought it was his second.
2. It might have been 2, but either way, 2 in 7 weeks is ridiculous.
That's brutal, considering there have been 4 in the entire league, I think.
Yeah. So Nick shot one at him, and did Rob?
I think so. That sounds right.
Nick and Rob, possibly.
Yeah. Steve averaged 226 and change last year. I'm looking at the.
So he's down a little bit. Jeff White's down a little bit, but he shot 700 last week, and so he's going to do those types of things. Drexel is a two-hander, and he's kind of like Ethan Burns that I bowled against last week. He's going to have his rough weeks, but he can also have his huge weeks too. So I have no idea what's going to happen there.
He can shoot a lot. He can shoot not a lot, and they're both kind of in the same range of outcomes. I think DJ's going to get better over the course of the season, being there with Steve.
Yeah,
week in and week out.
The one thing of note is that because of the averages, he's going to hop down to the 3 spot. So it's going to be him in the 3 spot, Keeler, and then I don't know. I would imagine he's going to leave Jeff in the leadoff and put Justin Preston in the 2 hole.
Jeff is a guy who really likes bowling leadoff, and I think kind of thrives in that role. So I don't see a way that they get out of that. So I'm expecting Jeff, Justin, DJ, Steve as their lineup, and
I kind of
same as before for us, which I think will actually match up pretty well on paper with their team as well.
Yeah, because Jeff's one of those guys that just is able to keep it in play and hit the pocket, and the transition doesn't really affect him that much. And so, again, I think that's a good matchup with me. I think Justin Preston is in Noah's range. He throws it really good, so I'm really surprised how he shot 550 last week. And then,
they got 3 and 4, so
they were on 3 and 4. He throws the ball really good. He's got kind of a slow hook, but he he throws it really good. He's got really pretty form, and so I think that's him.
Oh, he's the guy who like soft hand slow hooks it almost.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah. That's right.
Yep. So yeah, he's one of those that he just started at Ottawa. I think he's a freshman at Ottawa this year, so this is the first time.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
So this is the
I
first.
knew he was. Yeah.
And so even not bowling next to these people, he's good enough to pick up on and recognize.
Yep.
So I think it's one of those things you watch him and you just notice because he throws it really good.
Yeah, he's one of those guys where you watch him throw it and you're like, even if he's not all that bold, even if he's not scoring all that great right now, he will figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of those type of guys. Kind of same idea as Weddage from the actual Ottawa team.
Yeah.
Same boat of like he's going to be a captain in a couple of years. If he sticks around, that type of deal.
Mm-hmm. DJ, I think against Jaden. DJ's got the power advantage. Jaden has kind of the control advantage. Yeah. And Jaden's just been rock solid. I mean, she's really pulled away from me as far as because we were within 10 pins a couple weeks ago, and she's gone.
She's gapped you about 150 in the last 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. So she shot 700 again last week, I think. Yeah, 7-0. She went 7-0, 740.
Yeah, she's like she's like 250 over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And you haven't even thrown it that bad, and you're like 80 over.
Yeah, and which is again,
it happens, but
like I talked to about her or talked to her about it is that if our 3-hole is shooting 700 every week, that's
I'm good with it. Yeah,
we're gonna take our lumps there,
pretty much. So hopefully I can take more than 1 point against Keeler this week.
Yeah. And the other thing is there's not a whole lot of power on the pair, so they shouldn't break down that fast.
In theory,
kind of slow hooks it, but he doesn't have the highest rev rate. It's 375-ish maybe. DJ
smacks on it pretty good, and he's been throwing a Nova with surface on it on the fresh the last few weeks.
Yeah, so he might do a little shim wrecking, but other than that, Noah doesn't.
He's been DJ's been going a little more inside out, like getting it right quick. So I think it might actually get a little kind of over cliffy on the right side if I'm not careful with that, which is why I'm expecting to just lean on the black ball until it stops working.
At least there's only one person doing that, and you should either be on top of him or slightly inside of him, I would imagine.
Yeah. My plan, this is going to be kind of a slow roll it through the middle type of week for me, especially with because I'm not sure if I mentioned this to you, but I think I bruised a rib right in here when I fell too. So I'm not able to like throw it as hard as I normally do. So kind of leaning into the slow roll game and just kind of hit the pocket 11 times a game and take my lumps is a little closer to my game plan for tonight.
Yeah, and I think Jeff, Jaden, and Noah are going to be kind of up the outside.
Yep. Steve's going to be track area because that's what Steve does.
Yeah, he throws it softer and he's got a nice roll, but his rev rate's not that high. Justin Preston does kind of slow hook it, and so he's going to be at third arrow. So you might actually have a whole lot of. They might build you a some track friction without like blowing a hole in it, and so it might be a really good night for you. That actually might be why Keeler keeps getting dump trucked.
It's because they make the lanes really nice.
Yeah, because what his team is set up to do is just make the lanes really open up nicely, and that might be why he keeps getting smacked.
His team is the anti-Tennyson team this year.
Yeah,
because I need to actually go back and look at this, but I'm pretty sure Tennyson has one of the lowest pins against of the entire league. Yeah, because his team just trashes the pair.
Yeah, it's just that's a nightmare.
Just that combination of everybody on his team just destroys everything, and I don't understand it.
Yeah, I would probably say going into this that I like us to get 20 to 25.
Yeah.
Again, against Jerry Jennings, wasn't that confident last week against Johnny. It's just one of those, it depends on who shows up.
Yep.
And we thought it was going to be 20 and 10 either way, that we just were on the bad side of it. This one I feel a little bit more confident about.
Especially going to a pair that hooks a little more, I think that's going to play to our advantage a little bit. We haven't been on the high end very much, but when we bowled pretty well. Only other time we've been north of lane 8 was the week of KCO when I shot 800 and we bowled Tennyson's team. So hopefully that is a sign of good things to come. We're actually, one other interesting side note, let me double check this to make sure I have my facts straight. schedule. Yes, we are done with lanes 1 through 6 until the second half at this point, just because of how lane assignments work out.
Yeah. And so if we've been outscoring the entire league on the low end, of course, that's kind of funny because on the graph, the higher end is a whole lot lower scoring, but I think that we will match up on the higher end a whole lot better.
Yeah, I was funny. I was thinking about this. I'm wondering if the high end being as nice as it is a little skewed by us, honestly. Because we've been, 6 of the first 7 weeks we were on, lane 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 1 and 2. Then we bowled on 13 and 14. Then 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 1 and 2 again. So, hitting all those in quick succession, and none of them have been super low scoring matches. Aside from week 1, but
we'll have to keep an eye on this and see exactly how this shakes out or how it works. Look at the scoring averages once we go to the higher end and are up there for the rest of the half.
Actually, here, I'm gonna pull something up real quick because if I remember correctly, not by week, by lane. Yeah, I like the high end. Here, let's see if I can.
I was thinking.
Yeah, I like the high end a whole lot more last year.
Well, because all those times that you were out to sub before you moved here too, it was 790, 8 something, whatever else.
Yeah, it was all on the high end. Yeah. So 17 and 18, I think my worst set of the year was like 7-0 last season, and that was where I shot like I think 15 to 16 might have been where we bowled against Steve last year and I crushed him. So that's
Rob on tonight. Rob shot 8-0 something either the last week or the week before on one of those higher end pairs too. So that's something for me to pay attention to.
Yep, for sure. So, anywho, position wise, Steve's team is in 11th. They're solid, but nothing remarkable. I think they've kind of outperformed their total pinfall a little bit. Because they have been outscored by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams of the 7 that are below them. So a little bit of an outperform, but that's just kind of the nature of the league. It is actually really cool to see that we are tied for third in games won on the course of the season. So we've taken 13 out of 21, I think. So 13 and 8 game count is pretty solid. And if we keep doing that all year, then I think we'll
up. That's where the majority of the points are going to come from. And so even though Jerry's team, they've won their team points, the majority of their team points. And so even though several other teams,
15 and 6 game count, that's pretty crazy. And that's going to, if you're doing that on a consistent basis, then that means you're winning a lot of your individual points as well. So there's usually going to be a lot of correlation there.
Yeah. So
kind of over the course of the season. Should be a good time tonight. Also, one thing, and I'll go ahead and spoil this now. Heath, one of the guys from Discord, had mentioned the idea of kind of recording our thoughts about adjustments and such live as we're bowling. I'm actually going to be bringing my phone and my stream brick and my microphones and all that. And so kind of just a little bit of an experiment of just kind of record everything, and then if we have thoughts about like what we're seeing and specific adjustments to make, then we'll grab the mics and kind of talk that through, and that'll be going up as some sort of video on my YouTube channel hopefully early next week. So
cool.
Hopefully that should be another cool kind of look at the process of things as much as anything else.
So rather than just hearing us talk about it later, you can see exactly what happened.
You can actually see kind of literally in real time shot, here's what we're seeing on the lanes, and here's kind of the adjustments from that.
So
should be a good time.
I think that'll do it for this week. We'll see how it goes. I'm feeling pretty optimistic about this week.
As am I.
They're a team that hits the pocket a lot and doesn't give anything away. I think that's especially Keeler and Jeff White. with with the experience. They might have nights where they don't quite score as well, but they don't have like off nights necessarily. They have nights where they just don't score as well as other nights. That's really all it comes down to. And then Justin, I think, just had he just had one of those what the hell sets last week.
Yep.
Just whatever, don't pay attention, just forget about it and move on.
Yep. I think Storm's getting impatient on you, by the way.
Yeah. I want to go outside. So
silly dingus.
I think again we're kind of a similar build of team to them. We're not going to give a whole lot of stuff away, but I think that we're just bowling better right now. We'll have to see what happens on the high end of the house, but I like us to win, maybe not fairly comfortably, but 30, 40 pins every game.
Yeah.
So as long as thank you, buddy. I know. You say woof. You say woof.
Woof.
Woof. Woof. I know. You guys want to go outside? Go outside. That's it. All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Hopefully we'll have good news for you next week. But I mean, if not, we're still in second place with having a bad week, and so yeah, I think we're sitting okay. And as long as we continue to do this, again, I think we're going to be in the top 5, even with those rougher teams later. I think we're still, with the team build and outscoring everybody in the league, we're going to, I think, feel pretty comfortable about us being in the top 5 pretty well the entire year.
If we can keep just not being a complete pushover every week, because like the weeks we've lost have been by very, very little.
Yeah.
So if we can continue like making life miserable for people if they're going to beat us, then if we lose, then we lose, and I'm not fun, but I'm good with it. So
yeah,
that was the plan.
So, yep. All right. Cool. Thanks everybody. We will see you next week. I know. Storm says bye.